XRP exists for precisely this reason. Paul Barron, a highly successful YouTuber and self-described technologist, said so directly. According to my last check, his channel had about 1.6 million subscribers, and he is a strong supporter of XRP. And I'm going to show you a post in which he highlighted Ripple's strategy in relation to XRP as a bridge currency and the competition, which is a competition from the quote-unquote bank coins that are now available. Additionally, I'm going to use this chance to share an old post with you, a very old one. In essence, it is a 2016 declaration made by Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple. And what's happening today is exactly what he said would happen. And it clearly shows how important it is for a cryptocurrency like XRP to serve as bridge currency, which is what it is now employed for. Thus far, it has been implemented for that use case. And people can complain that Swift is now totally irrelevant because XRP hasn't taken over. To be honest, though, I have never held the opinion that XRP must or even would accomplish that in order to succeed. Simply put, XRP will be utilized where it makes sense. Additionally, even though XRP has been around for more than 13 years, we're still in the early days of cryptocurrency, and if you think about it, it's only been less than a year since the United States became pro-crypto, which is a huge event that will influence people, businesses, and institutions. A lot more is yet to happen, but XRP to this day, of course. Simply said, it continues to be the clear early victor in the cryptocurrency market. Alright, so this is Paul Barron's post. He wrote, XRP plot twist, and shared this only recently. Was Brad Garlinghouse always working for this? While Swift pitches neutral rails, all of the major banks are vying to introduce their own stable currencies. JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citi, Wells, ING, Deutsche, UniCredit, and 6 other companies will actually have Euro stablecoin by 2026. The CEO of Bank of America then states, "We're ready to launch." That's the quotation. As soon as regulations are clear, we're prepared to launch. Banks don't want neutral infrastructure, he says. They desire power. Here's the worst part, though. Fragmentation increases with the number of proprietary systems. The companies that cross the walled gardens are JP Morgan, Bank of America, America Coin, and, Euro Bankcoin. XRP exists for precisely this reason. That's right on the money, people. It would be a little different, though, unless you're talking about a stable coin that is traded on exchanges. In that case, you could try it, but it would obviously need to be backed by something. And those would be centralized, of course. It simply depends on what is important. Additionally, there will always be some parts of the world where people will not want to use a coin that is backed by the dollar. Or not going to utilize it if it is supported by something else for geopolitical reasons. However, there is no reason not to utilize a jurisdictionless, neutral asset like XRP. Additionally, those who voice their displeasure with XRP's volatility ask why it would be used as a bridge currency given its extreme volatility. That, in my opinion, has always been the most flimsy argument. In 3 seconds, XRP settles. Now check out the price of XRP. After 3 seconds, take a look. Has anything changed? Very seldom. Even in such case, stable coins do not necessarily mean that there is no risk. Do you know of any stable coins that you can peg? Because I most definitely have. Name it, USDC, Tether, etc. Of course. These reliable coins. Furthermore, if you look at Live Coin Watch right now, for example, USDT and Tether, it's over $1. USDC, on the other hand, is exactly at $1, though it fluctuates. That's why, for example, when you click on one of them, you can see that it's kind of everywhere. Furthermore, I'm not claiming that it's really volatile. Unless it's more significantly depegs, which isn't often, it's always about $1. It's not as though there is no chance of that happening. What I'm trying to say is, who the heck cares when anything settles in real time? Therefore, it's a dumb argument to say that XRP isn't, ideally positioned to serve as bridge money. As for XRP, it makes sense because we do need to connect these walled gardens, which is precisely what's occurring with many of these banks. And because I'm actually filming this Sunday night, I thought it might be entertaining. This seemed like a lighthearted Sunday night video to me. Take a trip down memory lane with this post. Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, wrote a brief article titled "The Case Against Bankcoin." Furthermore, this was released on August 24, 2016, more than a year before I was even aware of XRP. He has already worked everything out and is doing these stuff. You'll notice that what he's arguing here is precisely what Paul Barron is discussing. You have to build bridges across all of these walled gardens. This has always been a great fit for XRP. Thus, that remains true now, nearly 10 years later. Alright, so this is the text of Brad Garlinghouse's article. The utility settlement coin, a new digital asset that UBS, Deutsche Bank, Santander, and BNY Mellon unveiled, is intended to become the industry standard for blockchain settlements. After receiving approval from central banks and authorities, they anticipate that banks will begin using the token for post-trade settlement and clearing by the beginning of 2018. I must admit that this development is terribly misplaced, even though it indicates strong market traction for an institutional usage of digital assets. Only the banks that issued the digital asset may effectively settle disputes over it. There are then two possible outcomes. In the first scenario, all banks worldwide embrace the same digital asset, agree on its regulations, and cooperatively regulate its use, putting aside geopolitical and competitive differences. Fat luck. The second, and more probable, possibility involves banks outside the issuing group issuing their own digital assets under their own regulatory frameworks. And people, consider that. By the way, we mentioned that it was playing back there. I'll read through it and then return to his essay. He stated that it was happening at the time, and that it is happening now in 2025. Therefore, how do they relate if you produce your own coin and are not a part of the organization generating whatever the bank coin is? You must know the location of the trading pair for those two coins that are in competition with each other. Do you see this as a problem? That's precisely why XRP is necessary. One more reason why XRP will always make sense as a bridge currency is because it can bridge all of this stuff, and it does. It doesn't make sense, but walled gardens will continue to exist, they always have and will continue to do so, and some of them will gain traction. We're kind of seeing this already, as the Financial Times notes with Goldman Sachs's subtle currency and Citicoin, Brad writes. The outcome would be a monetary environment that is considerably more dispersed than it is now. Banks of various digital asset groups will need to create markets between their distinct digital assets or trade between their digital assets and a common fiat currency in order to settle deals with one another. What a mess. And that's completely true, people. I was receiving that. Was there a trading pair for it, I wondered? In order to connect with all of this extra fragmentation, you must first establish new markets. By doing this, they are using more modern technology to recreate the same system. It's just absurd. It simply is. Brad goes on, so he writes this. The utility settlement coin's apparent backing by a basket of currencies is its second major issue, he believes. It is no longer an asset until it is backed by cash. It's a liability. In the end, trading liabilities necessitates transferring money across international borders, replicating the current system but increasing friction. And people, it's the part about them following this route that always made me laugh. That's precisely what's taking place. You're introducing more friction while replicating what already exists. A walled garden is a walled garden is a walled garden, my friends, so even if there are certain technological advantages, such as the speed of the technology, etc., you still can't avoid the reality that you're essentially producing the same thing. According to Brad, we firmly believe that in order to facilitate truly efficient settlement, banks require an independent digital asset, and we believe XRP is best positioned for that role. It returns to the basics of what makes digital assets remarkable and distinctive. Anybody, anywhere in the world, can use them as units of value because they are universal currencies. Digital assets have a worldwide reach and can settle considerably more quickly than traditional assets because of that universality. That's what I was saying a few minutes ago, people. XRP has no jurisdiction. It can be used for any geopolitical reason. Certain coinage backed by specific fiat currencies should not be used for geopolitical reasons. That is simply a reality. Therefore, stablecoins have some degree of success even though there won't be a single coin that governs all of them for the use case of bridge currency. They will constantly do so. It's also true that there is. Additionally, a coin like XRP is ideal for this, and it has gained traction. In fact, one could argue that its value should have been greater. I don't give a damn. I'm saying that it's going in the correct direction and that it's working. Check back in 10, 15, or 20 years. The number will be higher if it continues in the correct direction. All right. He goes on to add that XRP settles cross-border transactions the fastest in a matter of seconds when compared head-to-head with other independent digital assets like Bitcoin or Ether. To demonstrate that XRP can reduce liquidity costs for cross-border trading, we have actually conducted experiments with international banks. There will be more on that front. Thus, people, XRP was not operational at the time, and Ripple's technology was being utilized as a bridge currency. As far as I can recall, the actual pilot program wasn't technically launched. I would like to speculate that it may have happened in October of 2017. I might be mistaken because I would need to Google it, but I believe it to be true. In any case, I haven't given it much thought lately. In any case, XRapid didn't go online until October of 2018, after which it was rebranded as On-Demand Liquidity and then again as plain Ripple Payments. XRapid. It is true that XRP is utilized as a bridge currency in conjunction with X. Thus, it has been operational for the past 7 years. And once more, you may complain about how much Ripple technology has been used as a bridge currency, but it's moving in the right direction, isn't it? Furthermore, Ripple can employ Rust, which requires XRP on the XRP network, therefore XRP still wins even if stablecoins win. All right? In any case, if stablecoins are going to be used, and even if Matt is right and all of the people who have said that about XRP are right, XRP still wins, and they never seem to see it. Unless you believe that Ripple is a failure, XRP always wins. However, at this time, that would be a foolish expectation. It's safe to say, I believe. Anyway, it's just wonderful stuff, in my opinion. A Sunday evening stroll down memory lane.